Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com for Saturday, June 15th. Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Wagering Development. Really nice card at Churchill Downs, headlined by the Grade 2 Stephen Foster and the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis. And it's night racing and some nice big fields in most of these races. Should be a fun night of racing at Churchill. So, Jim, let's jump into the first of 5 graded stakes, the Grade 3 Matt Win for 3-year-olds, going a mile and a 16th. Mr. Money was a easy and impressive winner, the Pat Day Mile, so I think he would be a solid favorite in here. Do you think you can beat him?
Oh, I think you can. I think this race might fool some people. That race looked awfully good, and he beat Hog Creek Hustle, who came back, obviously, and won the Grade 1 at Belmont on Belmont Stakes Day. But if he runs that well, he wins. I'm not sure that he's going to follow that up with another great effort. If he does, you can write him down. You can single him in the pick 5. Start off. We're going to do a pick 4, starting the 6th race. I think a couple other horses in here interest me. I think Signal Man, the 2-horse for Kenny McPeak, horse ran well in the Bluegrass, came back and didn't do anything in the Preakness, and they obviously didn't think he could get the mile and a half in the Belmont, so they're shortening back up to mile and 16. He's been well regarded since he ran the Breeders' Cup Juvenile here last year. Only got beat by 3 lengths to Game Winner. Nick's Go beat him, who's in here, and that's the other horse. But I think you just never know what you're going to get with him. He runs a good race and then a bad race. But if he gets an easy lead here, he's shown he can go a long way in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He only got beat by Game Winner by a couple of lengths after winning Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. So I think Nick's Go and Signal Man both have a shot at knocking off Mr. Money. I would not single him. I think that that's going to be a lot of people. He's going to be 4 to 5 in here probably. But I've seen horses run that well and then come back and take a little step back. If he's really that good, he's got a nice future in front of him.
I am going to try Nick's Go in here. Don't see a whole lot of speed in the race, and I think they could have found an easier spot than this. So that suggests to me that maybe the horse is training well. They pick up Gaffleon to ride. So I'm kind of reading that as those signals as confidence. And, on his best day, I think this horse would certainly have a shot. Last race in the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland was not bad, much improved over the previous 2. So I think he's got a shot, especially if the price sneaks up, he'd be even more attractive to me. Otherwise, I like Mr. Money in there. And then the horse for John Sadler coming in from California, the 3, Nolo Contesto, would be intriguing to me as well. But I'm going to try Nick's Go. This, by the way, does start an all-stakes pick 5 on Saturday night. The all-stakes pick 4 starts in the 6th race. We'll come back and give you a pick 4 ticket in a minute. But the Grade 2 Wise Dan is the 6th race at a mile and a 16th on the turf. And I like Hot Springs a good bit in here. Horse is 4 for 5 at Churchill. And when Santana rides, he's won 4 out of 5. When there's been another jockey on board, 0 for 4. So Santana's riding. I kind of think the mile, you look at this horse run a lot of mile and 8th races, so maybe the mile might be a little too short last time. 3rd start off the layoff, good draw, and some of the other horses I like aren't drawn well. So I'm going to try Hot Springs in here. Admission Office, I think, is probably the one to beat. Looks to be in top form for Lynch and really ran big up at Pimlico after a nice effort against Instilled Regard at Keeneland. That was a stakes caliber field. Inspector Lindley for Shug, I think, has got a big shot in here. March to the Arch for the Cassie Barn. Parlor, if he gets in. And then you might want to include CM Reap if you go really deep. Wired the field at a huge price last time and beat some of these in here, but I don't know that he'll get the same kind of trip this time. So Hot Springs for me in the Wise, Dan. How about you?
Well, this might be one you want to go deep on because I didn't even put your top pick in there. So I thought that this was the best betting race of the night. I went with Inspector Lindley. I thought the race at Tampa Bay early this year beat the Visadero and Turbont. I used that as a key for this one. Ortiz rides for Shug, and although he felt he did not beat Admission Office last time out, that's an aberration. His last 7 races before that were all, you go back even 10 races, his worst buyers in 96. So he didn't run well in Dixie. I'm just going to throw that one out, saying he did not like the track. He had a bad break, and so I'm going to. Inspector Lindley is my top pick in here, the 9 horse. I'm going to use it's in the post just because of back class for Mullins. He doesn't ship these horses for fun over here to the East Coast. CM Reap won the opening verse at 35-1 for Colebrook. You're not going to get that price this time, but he's also not going to get an easy lead in this race. First premium to 3. Right with CM Reap in the opening verse on Derby week, and probably has more back class. So that's the 4 I'm going to use when we get to pick 4. But Inspector Lindley, the 9 horse, is my choice in the Y stand.
7th race is a small field, but I think the top 3 in here are really well matched. It's the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis, a mile and an eighth for fillies and mares. How do you see this one?
Well, I will bet that we're on the same top 3 here.
Yes.
She's a Julie, the 2, Elate, the 3, and Blue Prize, the 5. So I would be shocked if one of the other horses, or one of the other 3 horses, won this race. I would give a slight edge to She's a Julie because of the race she ran in the La Troyenne. Blue Prize was the favorite that day, and just didn't finish down the lane. I don't know. I really didn't have an excuse, and She's a Julie just ran better that day. She was 5-1. It wasn't like she was a big long shot, but really like her in here. They're both 2-1 morning line. So She's a Julie would be my top pick. Elate is 8-5, and if she were what she used to be, she would win this race easily. She's been off since April 14th when she ran 3rd in the Apple Blossom, but there's no Midnight Bisou in here, so Elate's got a huge shot too. No way I would play a pick 4 or a pick 5 without these 3 horses, though. There's not much to choose between them. She's a Julie just because of the Grade 1 win a few weeks ago on Oaks Day in the La Troyenne.
Yeah, I see it the same way, same 3, and I could easily see any one of the 3 winning. I leaned to She's a Julie as well because she's in top form, and she's got more speed than the other 2, and she's never won or run at a mile and an eighth, so you might look at that as thinking, well, is the mile and an eighth, could that get her? But she ran 2nd at a mile and a quarter in the Alabama last year to Eskimo Kisses, so I think her speed might give her the edge over the other 2 in here. But if Blue Prize floated up to say 4-1, something like that, that might be an attractive, just a win bet within the race because I expect her to run better. But I'm going to give a slight nod to She's a Julie. 8th race is the Grade 2 Stephen Foster at a mile and an eighth, and this is a really, really well matched group. When we get to the pick 4, I'm going 6 deep in here. I ended up taking Seeking the Soul. I'm just going to throw out the race on May 3rd as just a prep, coming back from Dubai, and I think this Grade 1 is the main goal. Bullet work for Dallas Stewart, which I like. 9 out of 11 times in the money at Churchill, so I think this horse will be in the mix. It's just a matter of will he get up in time. Johnny Velasquez riding, I think, is a plus, and I think the odds might float up just a bit off of that subpar effort last time. So I'm going to take Seeking the Soul. Yoshida's probably my next one. Then Tenfold. Gift Box looks awfully good, but I'm thinking maybe he might be best at a mile and a quarter and beyond, and that maybe you might be able to beat him at a mile and an eighth, but you got to use him off those races in California. Tom's D'Etat ran big to McKenzie in the Ali Sheba, so going to use him. And then Thirst for Life at a big price I'm going to throw in there just because it was a real wake-up race last time. It was a good Baffert horse that he beat, stretching out from a mile and 99 buyer. So just off that angle, I'm going to throw this one in there as well. How do you see the Stephen Foster?
Well, a lot of the same horses. Seeking the Soul loves Churchill Downs. He's almost never out of the money here. So I think the play here, I'm not sure Seeking the Soul is good enough to win this race. He's got a lot of competition. And I think the play here is he's going to be in the top 3, I would think. With Velasquez riding, liking the track, got to get a good trip. Don't know if he's going to win, but I would play him 2nd and 3rd, but obviously has a shot to win. I do like Gift Box. The last 2 of Santa Anita are better than any of these horses have run this year. So if he brings his speed from Santa Anita to here, he's going to be tough to handle. He's got a lot of positional speed. Tom's D'Etat ran well in the Ali Sheba at Churchill. Yoshida is good on dirt or turf. I think you could run him on concrete. He'd still be good. So I think Yoshida's got a big chance. And the one that I'd like here at a price that you didn't mention is Quip. Quip was a Derby horse last year, just didn't get enough points to get in, and ran the Preakness and didn't run a step. Came back this year in the House Hope and didn't run very well, but came back in the Oakland Handicap and won that race, Grade 2, over Lone Sailor, a classy horse. And Quip seems to be coming back into form. Going to get completely overlooked in the wagering. I believe he's 10-1 morning line, so I think you'll get double digits on him. So I'm going to use him as well. But if you made me choose somebody as a win bet, I would choose Gift Box the 6. But my better bet is King Seeking the Soul, second and third, and trying to get these 3 or 4 horses on top of him with all.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point on Quip. And Tenfold was in that same race, didn't run well, but came back and won the Pimlico Special. And both of those horses, probably Quip more likely is going to be the higher, but I think Tenfold's 10-1 on the morning line. So those are a couple of nice prices in there that could run big. I think this is going to be a really fun race to watch. And you make a really good point about King Seeking the Soul. Is, if you had to be sure of one horse that would finish in the top 3, I think he's, for that particular type of bet, he'd be close to odds on. So
I think so too.
I think that's a really good point. The 9th race is the Grade 3 Regret. I always loved this race. It's 3-year-old fillies. They always seem to get a nice big field for it. It's 1 1/8 on the turf. Who'd you land on?
I can't pick on the from the 3 top ones here. I'm kind of like the same way that we are on the Fleur de Lis. Winter Sunset, the 1 horse, Varenka, the 4, and Princessa Carolina, the 11, are my 3 picks. From a standpoint of simply the horse that has the more upside, Winter Sunset has only run 4 times. Varenka's won 5 times, and they Princessa Carolina has 2 wins. Came back last time at Keeneland at 1 mile and 3/16 and won the allowance race after finishing 3rd in the Appalachian. So one of the few horses that got 2 races in at Keeneland, and she won the second one at 2-5. She was a big choice in that allowance race. Stepping back up to Grade 3 here, and I think she's got a big shot to improve. But Winter Sunset came out of the Edgewood at Churchill on Oaks Day. Didn't run that well. Got an awkward start. Was 13-1, and I guess they thought she was in over her head, but she didn't run that badly. I think she's got room to improve. Then Varenka, they thought enough of her to run her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf as a maiden, and then she came back and broke her maiden easily at Belmont. So those 3 are going to be my pick 4, and Princessa Carolina would probably Winter Sunset and Princessa Carolina coin flip between those 2 as my top pick.
I like Varenka in there a lot. I thought her maiden win last time was really impressive in her first start of the year, and last year they ran her in the Breeders' Cup, even though she was a maiden, and she didn't disgrace herself, and ran big previously in a stake up in New York. So I think kind of regrouping, coming back, getting the maiden win first time out as a 3-year-old, I think she is going to be awfully tough in here. I was real impressed with Hungry Kitten's race on Derby weekend, where Shug really finished strong, got up to win in the last couple of jumps, and I'm going to probably just take a stand with those 2, mainly when we get to a pick 4 here in a second, mainly because of just making the ticket affordable. I think the smarter play would be to include Princessa Carolina, Winter Sunset, and maybe even Delta's Kingdom, the 2. But I can't go deep in every race, so I'm going to have to take a stand somewhere. So my pick 4, I'm going to take Varenka to win the Regret, but my pick 4, going to go 3 deep in the first leg with Hot Springs, Admission Office, and Inspector Lindley. Then I'm going to go take the 3 horses we both like in the Fleur de Lis. Stephen Foster, I'm going 6 deep, 1, 4, 6, 7, 9, 12. And if I could go deeper, I'd add Quip. And then I'm going to go 4, 6 in the last leg. So that's a $54 ticket. If you wanted to add one more in that last race, maybe Princessa Carolina, and that takes it to 81. But I'm going to do a $54 ticket, 4, 9, 12 with 2, 3, 5 with 1, 4, 6, 7, 9, 12 with 4, 6. What's your pick 4 look like?
Well, my pick 4 is a little expensive. It's $90. I couldn't narrow it down to less than 3 in either one of the races that I thought I could narrow it down. So the Wise Dan, the 6th race, I go 3, 6, 7, 9 with First Premio, Siem Reap. It's in the Post and Inspector Lindley. Same three that you used in the Fleur de Lis with She's a Julie the 2, Elate the 3, and Blue Prize the 5. In the Stephen Foster, I'm going 5 deep. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Seeking the Soul gift box. I'm sorry, no, that's not right. 4, 6, 8. We're going to use. Oh yes, I was going to use King Zachary the 8 that I didn't mention for Ram Motion, and then Quip the 10 and the 12 horse Yoshida. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then the last leg, the 3 I talked about, Winter Sunset the 1, Barinka the 4, and the 11 horse Princessa Carolina. So 3, 6, 7, 9 with 2, 3, 5, with 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, with 1, 4, 11 for $90.
And there is a pick 5 that starts in the Matt Winn, the 5th race. Don't forget that. Pick 4, all stakes, begins in the 6th, which is what we focused on. It's a really nice card that probably is going to end about 11:15 Saturday night. Some really nice betting opportunities here. And Jim, speaking of betting opportunities, there's one our listeners need to know about out at Santa Anita, right?
Yeah, the jackpot pick 6 has reached over $1 million in carryover, and they just announced here on Thursday that they're giving it away on Father's Day on Sunday the 16th. So there will be a mandatory payout. They're expecting well over $5 million of new money into that. So that's a nice – the jackpot pick 6s are good plays when you have a big carryover and a mandatory payout. So that's a good opportunity. I just noticed Gulfstream's pick 6 is now $2.4 million, but they've not announced a carryover day yet or a mandatory payout day. But Santa Anita is doing it on Sunday the 16th for Father's Day. It'd be a nice present.
Well, yes, it would. That would make Dad awfully happy. Best of luck with your wagers this weekend. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach, and this is the In the Money Podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.